UFC 283 takes place this weekend in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and we've got a stacked ass card all the way from the early prelims leading up to the main event, which I'm going to be covering here for you today and giving you my predictions and breakdown all the way throughout the card. Starting with the early prelim opener, bantamweight division, of Saimon Oliveira taking on Daniel Marcos. Saimon Oliveira has an 18-4 record with 11 subs, and his last fight was a loss to Tony Gravely. Other than that, he has losses to people like Renato Moicano. He has a loss to Adriano Moraes. I think all of his finishes are by sub as well, all of his losses, but I might not be 100% on that. He's a pretty good prospect. He's somebody that's been talked about on the regional scene coming out of Brazil. And he's taking on a newcomer in the UFC, Daniel Marcos, who's 13-0, 7 TKOs, 6 decisions. He's making his debut, of course. He's from Peru, and he's going to have that undefeated swagger about him, like all undefeated fighters do. It just comes with the game, and I have a feeling that Daniel Marcos is going to continue his streak. He might be the underdog in this fight. I'm pretty sure he's not as tested as Saimon Oliveira, and that's probably why the books have it the way they do. But I'm going to have to take a chance if he is the dog, and I'm going to have to go with Daniel Marcos by either a late third-round TKO or a decision. All right, moving on up the card, we've got a women's featherweight fight, which you don't see very often at all. And we've got that one between Josiane Nunes and Zarah Fairn dos Santos. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Josiane is 9-1. She punches like a dude. She's on an 8-fight win streak. Her opponent's on a 2-loss streak. I think it speaks for itself. Josiane Nunes is going to go out there and most likely get the finish or win a boring decision. But it's going to be dominant regardless. So to keep this one short and clean, I'm going with Josiane Nunes. Moving on up the card to the welterweight division, we've got Warlley Alves versus Nicolas Dalby. And this is where these picks start to get a little bit more dicey for me. I'm not confident in my pick regardless of who it is. Warlley Alves has a win over Colby Covington and Munir Lazzez, who's later on in the card. And the Covington win is just wild to me to look back on. Like, of course, it was earlier in Covington's career, but still, only 2 people have wins over that man. And the other one is a dominant ex-champion in Kamaru Usman. So you got to give credit where credit's due. But he is coming off of a KO loss to Jeremiah Wells, and he's just one of those fighters that is 50-50. Like, you never know when they're going to actually show up. And if he did, I'd probably be picking him to KO Nick Dalby. I'm pretty sure if there is a finish in this fight, it would be on the side of Warlley Alves. But even with all that said, I'm going to have to side with Nicolas Dalby. You know, he has a draw with Darren Till, which I never hear anybody talk about. He has wins over D-Rod and Cowboy Oliveira, which are really fucking good wins in the welterweight division. Not looking like as good of wins nowadays, but shit, I'll take it, honestly. I think that shows that he's good enough to come out here and put away somebody like Warlley Alves, or at the very least beat him. And he'll probably do it by outpointing him over a 3-round decision. And again, I'm not confident in it, but I think I'm just going to have to lean towards Nicolas Dalby getting this one done. Again, that's at 170 pounds. But yeah, no, I think he's going to improve his record to 21-4 and keep the Dalby train rolling. On up to lightweight now, and this is a real good fight. We got Ismael Bonfim taking on Terrance McKinney. Ismael is a highly touted Brazilian prospect, like probably the most touted up-and-comer out of any of them on this card. That's from the regional scenes. He's got 12 finishes. He's on a 12-fight win streak. He's 18-3, so he has a solid record. He has a good amount of experience, and I believe he's coming in here on his debut, but I might be wrong. But he's taking on Terrance McKinney. And this is somebody that a lot of people are starting to hop on the bandwagon for. I've been on the Terrance McKinney train, to be completely honest. Dude hits like a fucking freight train, has supremely underrated grappling. He's actually an amazing grappler. He has great wrestling, establishes great control, good submissions, all that. And he has a ridiculous first-round pace and power. Like, only comparable to people like Conor McGregor, in my opinion. And he's still young in his career, which you could look at as a negative or a positive. It kind of works both ways, honestly. He doesn't have as much fight experience as his opponent, but he has that dog in him, man. And it's really hard for me to bet against somebody like Terrance. It's really hard. So I'm going to have to go with Terrance McKinney, but this is another one that I feel like could go any way. Like, if Terrance doesn't get a finish in the first round, I'm going to start to be sweating as the fight goes on. up to the bantamweight division, and we've got another great fight here. Luan Lacerda, another upcoming Brazilian prospect. I believe he's Jose Aldo's main training partner, or he was one of them, something like that. But he's taking on Cody Stamann, who's a vet in the UFC, vet in this division. He for sure has the strength and resume, and he's well-rounded everywhere. He's better at more parts of MMA. But Luan Lacerda has 10 subs, and he's on the back of a 10-fight winning streak, 12-1. And I'm real nervous here, man. Like, throughout the whole week, I've been going with Cody Stamann. I've been telling myself I'm picking Stamann. But I just have a weird feeling that Lacerda is going to have his moment in Brazil. And by the way, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but this applies to all Brazilian fighters on the card. They get a map bonus. They get like a 30% confidence boost or some shit. Deadass on some RPG type shit. They get a stat bonus, and that crowd's going to be helping them. Their confidence is going to be up. Like, there's just no way it can't be. You're in your backyard. And in a place like Brazil, yeah, I'm going to have to pick Luan Lacerda, the underdog, the newcomer coming in here. I think he's going to have his moment, and I think he's going to pick up another sub and extend that streak. Moving on up the card, finishing our early prelims, we've got Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Jailton Almeida. Another self-explanatory one. I'm going with Jailton Almeida. This is like my most confident pick of the whole card. Either first or second, right behind Josiane Nunes getting a win. He's on a 12-win streak. In my opinion, he's a future champ. Ever since I saw him at the beginning, I've always known like this dude's going to fuck up light heavyweight and heavyweight. And he's probably going to be a champion for sure. Abdurakhimov, on the other hand, he's a great grappler, but he's on the brink of a 3 KO losing streak. He's on the backs of it. And I just feel like it's going to be another situation like that. Like, Jailton Almeida is the type of dude to go and out-grapple a Dagestani. And dominantly, too. And it's really hard to pick against that. On top of that, he's Brazilian. He's definitely on roids. He's on some shit, dude. Like, that dude is a freak of nature. Above Yoel type of freak of nature. It's fucking ridiculous. So I'm going with Jailton Almeida getting a stoppage. I can't imagine this fight goes to the distance unless he just shows up not in shape. Moving on, we get to kick off the prelims with the aforementioned Munir Lazzez taking on Gabriel Bonfim. Another undefeated prospect in Gabriel Bonfim. Another Brazilian prospect as well, which is fitting for this card. Gabriel has 10 subs, 13-0 record. And Munir Lazzez, he's like a welterweight Israel Adesanya type of striker. Like, he's a cerebral kickboxer. And before he got fucked up by Warlley Alves, which I actually picked Warlley to beat him in that fight, surprisingly enough, everybody was looking at this guy like he was going to be an up-and-comer in the welterweight division. And he definitely still can be. You know, he's got great striking. He's got 8 KO TKOs on his record. And he's young in his career. But I don't know. I feel like the Brazilians are going to show up tonight. I feel like that submission game is going to be on point for a lot of them. And I think Gabriel Bonfim is going to extend his undefeated record to 14-0, add another sub to that, and steal the show. So that's what I'm going to be picking. I'm going to be picking Gabriel Bonfim by submission. Moving on into the lightweight division, up the card, we've got Thiago Moises taking on Melquizal Costa. Melquizal, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm sorry if I butchered your shit, but yeah, no, another one that I think is a little bit more self-explanatory than the others. I'm going with Thiago Moises. You know, he went 4 rounds with Islam, and even though he got subbed in that fight, fucking crazy that he went 4 rounds with Islam, got a takedown. You know, he was showing some good things in that fight. Although he was mostly fighting defensively, he showed a lot, and I don't know how many times he's fought since. Maybe it's only been once, maybe twice, but I know he looked dominant in his last outing, and yeah, I just feel like he's going to spoil the debut of Melquizal Costa. I don't know, Melquizal, I don't know how to pronounce that, and it's bugging me, but yeah, I'm going with Thiago Moises. I think he could get either a late submission, maybe even an early sub, honestly. He has some really good grappling. Yeah, so I'm going to be going with Thiago by a submission. Moving on up the card, we've got Gregory Robo-Roids Rodriguez, RoboCop, taking on Bruno Ferreira. A short notice debut for Bruno. I think he's replacing Brad Tavares, which would have been a scrap. And this is another undefeated prospect, but this is a way different fight than Brad Tavares. You know, Bruno Ferreira is a dog, and he's just going to go in there swinging for the fences, especially because he's coming in on short notice. He's not going to be as conditioned, not as ready for this fight. And you're coming in to scrap with RoboCop. You're going to try to scrap with that roided out Brazilian freak of nature? Nah, I don't trust it. This one's simple. If it wasn't short notice and it was the original bout, I don't know. I probably still would have picked Gregory, but it would have been a lot tougher of a call. But this one feels simple to me. Like, maybe we'll be talking about Bruno Ferreira coming up. Maybe he gets the KO this weekend, but I just don't see it. I feel like it's going to be Gregory Rodriguez. And now moving on, up the prelims in the light heavyweight division. We've got the retirement bout for a legend, Shogun Rua, taking on Ihor Peteria. I'm going with Ihor. He's younger. I feel like he's just going to try to get into a dogfight with Shogun, instantly just get into a scrap. And the faster, less chinny fighter is going to win. You know, like, I feel like this was kind of a tough retirement bout. At least he gets to go out in Brazil, but, you know, it's not looking good for my boy. I'm thinking it's going to be an early TKO KO stoppage for Ihor. And I think that's all that really needs to be said on it. Shogun, you're dope. Hats off to you. I hope you enjoy retirement life, and I hope that this weekend isn't as tough for you as I'm envisioning it to be. That was the cap of the prelims, and now we get to move into the start of the main card, a 5-fight main card. It's a nice main card too, I'm not going to lie. We're leading off with Paul Craig taking on Johnny Walker. I got Johnny Walker. There's always that chance that Paul Craig is going to come back from the depths, pull off a submission, the very fucking last seconds of a round of a fight he's been losing. But I don't know, man. Johnny Walker just looks like he's been through enough shit now in the octagon. You know, he's taken his fair share of embarrassing losses. You know, he's taken those losses that showed him the levels in the game, like the one against Thiago Santos. And I feel like after his last bout, he just really showed, like, he's taking this shit serious. He's in a different spot in his life. I remember on an interview in the past, he said something about how, I think it was CBD or something, like, he had THC in his gummies or whatnot, and he didn't realize, and he was basically just stoned all the time. I don't know. Like, this is going off what he said and what I vaguely remember. But I think he's just in a better spot now overall. Like, he's made it past all that shit. I don't know if he has a kid. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he just had one or he's expecting or something. But I know he has a woman, and he's doing good now. So I'm picking Johnny Walker. I'm picking motivated Johnny Walker. New mythical fighter. I think he's going to extend his record, pick up his 20th dub. Sad night for Paul Craig and Paul Craig fans. Moving on, up the card, into the women's flyweight division. We've got Lauren Lucky Murphy taking on Jessica Andrade. I mean, I feel like, oddly enough, it's been reversed this week with the card. Like, usually at the bottom of it, I have a harder time making the picks. Or I have an easier time, I'm sorry. And at the top of it, I have a way harder time making picks. But it is flipped right now because I think Jessica Andrade smokes Lauren Murphy. You know, she's tough, but she's slower. She's less powerful. She's less technical. I don't think her grappling's as good. I don't think Jessica Andrade punches like she has testosterone. She engages in grappling scenarios, in the clinch, all that. Like, she is a man. And that shit favors women fighters. It just does, because 80-90% of them don't fight like that. They just don't have that whatever it is in them. But Jessica Andrade does, and she has finishes over a lot of the top girls around her weight classes. First round finishes at that over Cynthia Calvillo, I believe. Maybe it's just a dub over her. But she has one over Chukagian. She has one over Amanda Lemos. I don't know, I just trust her to get this one done. She got that Brazilian mat bonus. Yeah, I'm picking Jessica Andrade to continue her pretty fucking solid women's MMA career, honestly. Moving on up the card into the feature fight of the card, we've got Gilbert Burns taking on Neil Magny in the welterweight division. Bro, I am not looking forward to picking on this. I'm going to be sweating bricks when that fight comes up, because that's the type of shit that can make or break your parlay. Like, I think Gilbert Burns is going to win. Usually on paper I would look at this and be like, it's for sure going to be Gilbert Burns. But I don't know, man. Neil Magny has the build and the tools to be that, like, annoying counter to Gilbert. And I'm going to be really frustrated if Neil Magny wins and I don't predict this, and I didn't predict it, because that just seems like the type of underdog pick that I would usually oracle up and just realize. But I have to go with Gilbert, even though my gut is sort of telling me to go with Neil Magny. You know, he's long, lanky, he has that jab that he can just keep in Gilbert's face, and Gilbert clearly has trouble dealing with the straight punches. In his last couple fights, he's been dropped by him. But, you know, I'm just going to trust that his overrated, I will add it's overrated, but I'm going to trust that his overrated grappling is going to be the neutralizer here. And maybe his KO power, maybe he can get in, throw some heavy hooks, heavy overhands like he does, and make something happen. I don't know, man. Neil Magny has the most wins in welterweight division. He's a fucking dog. Like, he's a vet, and with vets, you know, it's really tricky to call these fights. But I'm going to be going with Gilbert Burns for my final prediction, probably by a decision. All right, now, rounding out the card, we make it to our co-main event, the first quadrilogy in UFC history. Brandon Moreno taking on Deiveson Figueiredo for the flyweight title. Deiveson has one win over Brandon. Brandon has one win over Deiveson, and they have a draw. Their first fight was the draw, and in that bout, I picked Deiveson to win. Their second fight, Brandon Moreno got a submission. I picked Brandon to win that fight. Their third fight, Deiveson Figueiredo won either a unanimous or a split decision. I don't remember now. And I picked Deiveson for that one. So I'm 2 for 3 right now in this quadrilogy. And I'm going with Deiveson Figueiredo. Most of the commentators, most of the personalities in this space, most of the YouTubers I'm seeing are going with Brandon, and for good reason. He's won probably 70, maybe a little bit more than that percent of all of their fights, all the rounds they've had. Like, he's usually the one winning. It's just that power difference that usually makes the round shift towards Deiveson. And maybe I'm dumb to be going for that, banking on it, but I'm trusting that Deiveson's going to go in here this time, and he's going to finish what he should have finished in the first 2 fights. First fight, he comes in, underestimates Brandon. It ends up being a draw. Second fight, he still, in my opinion, is underestimating him, but also kind of having some integrity to what he signed up for. And, you know, he gets sick, has a bad weight cut before the next fight, and a lot of those factors play in my opinion, to why he gets subbed. And I just feel like, you know, the third fight showed that he's the better fighter when he really wants to hammer in and focus in on what he needs to do, get the task at hand. That's what I took away from their third bout. Like, you know, he came back, he had a good cut, he was focused, and he got the job done. He won the fight, in my opinion. And I don't know if it's going to be another razor-close decision. Part of me really feels like Deiveson's just going to catch him, and he's finally going to shatter that iron chin that Brandon has. But you know, man, Brandon Moreno is a dog. He has a lot on the side of him. He's already become a champ, so he has that champion-level mentality. He has amazing jab, a fucking amazing jab in that division. He's so long and big for a flyweight. He's got that jab speed, and his scrambles are elite level scrambles. He has all the tools to win this, and I could easily be wrong, and he very well could get his belt back and hopefully finish this shit off so that division can get moving. I'm picking Deiveson Figueiredo. I don't really feel like Brandon Moreno is going to be getting it done this weekend. So I'm going to trust Deiveson to take it home. And finally, please, MMA gods, please, fucking end this series of bouts. I wanted to see Kai Kara France take on Deiveson Figueiredo. And then he fumbled the bag. Please, no more obstruction in this division. Let's just keep it rolling. I'm going with Deiveson Figueiredo. 3rd or 4th round TKO. Moving on to the main event. The most anticipated fight for most of us, probably. Glover Teixeira versus Jamahal Hill for the vacant light heavyweight main event. Jamahal Hill only has one loss to Paul Craig, who's also on this card, where he broke his arm with an armbar. And Glover's coming off of a fucking war with Yuri Prochazka, where he just lost the belt in like the last minutes of the last round, in a fight that he was going to win comfortably. Glover is like a Brazilian fucking bear. Brazilian Khabib. Big old man. Wise vet. And I'm somebody that was picking against him a lot on his rise. I picked Anthony Smith to take him out. I picked somebody else to take him out, and then I quickly realized, like, okay, I need to stop, because I picked him for Thiago Santos. I knew he was going to get that done. And I picked him against Jan Blachowicz. I don't remember if I picked him against Yuri, but I probably did. Glover is just the man, dude. Like, and every time he's on the embeddeds, you could just tell that everyone that's around him views him as like that dope grandfather or like dope family member that you're around at a reunion, you know? Like one of those ones that just garner respect because they've just had years of being a real ass dude. Like straight up, that's just what it is. And Glover's that guy. And Glover can easily come out here and fucking do the man dance with Jamahal Hill and bully him. He has all of the potential, but I'm trusting the underdog in this one. I'm trusting Jamahal Hill's speed, freakish power to get that shit done. His weird build. I'm sure he'll get taken down. I'm sure he'll get brought to the ground at some point, unless he can get like a quick flash KO. But I'm trusting the underdogs tonight in a lot of fights. And Jamahal Hill, I think, is going to end off the night becoming our new light heavyweight champion. And I really think that's all there is to it. My opinion might change as we get up to the fight, and if it does, I'll most likely make another breakdown video going further into it. But I don't know, I just feel like it's a style clash, you know? It's really a classic style matchup. Grappler versus quick striker, and I'm favoring the young. I'm favoring the young lion in this. Yeah, but anyways, I'm your host, I9s. This has been my UFC 283 picks. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you think I got something right, wrong. Give me the reason. Follow me on my socials. I'm going to have them displayed in the description and at the end of this video. And yeah, that'll be all, guys. I guess I'll see you whenever the fights happen with my recap and breakdown.